Hey, what's up? It's Turbo John. Make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe. We're about to get the motor installed. Stock firewall, a couple extra bars. We did tubular this front stuff, but you can see, this stuff is, it's just made with small, I think it was 1.5 inch tube. Turbo mount is over here. That was the one I screwed up on the first time. I made it a little too far forward. It was going to look very much like an import. It's pretty basic. Basically, strut towers forward. It's the only thing that's been modified in here. Not even the whole strut towers. It's pretty basic. Very budget, very redneck, but it works. There's that PTC converter. It works good for this combination. Holly stuff wired up, pulled up to the side. This is my remote filter that I was telling you about in the earlier video. This is the one that feeds the turbo here. I just tapped it into that old cheap housing, that filter housing. So oil comes in, goes through, and then goes back. There's my fuel pump. It just stays on the car. I think there's probably still fuel in this sail. I don't know if there is or not. It's been sitting for a month. Oh yeah, it's about full. Hadn't dripped or dropped. Woo, very cold. Wow. Still good. Might have a little bit of water in it from the heat in the trailer, the heat and condensation, but it will work for getting the car started up. So I got it jacked up. There we go. We're about to do this thing, put it in. It still has not recovered from where I took the doors back off of it, so both doors are off of it. Batteries are out of it. So about ready to go. We'll have it in. Okay, that took a little longer than expected, but we're still making good progress. Motor is in. We got our mid-plate bolts on it. Transmission is attached. I do have to do the torque converter, but I got to measure all that stuff like I did in the other video, do that. But I'm going to prime the motor and get the cam sync in it before I do that, and then that way I don't have to reset that. So setting that up, I'm about 180 degrees before top dead center, so I should be able to just drop the cam sync in, and typically it'll fire right off. We'll see when we get to that point. Fixing a primed oil pump up. Got our old primer tool. This is made out of an old distributor that Brian and Keith showed me how to make a long time ago, just on a drill up here at the front of the motor where that feed was that goes to the turbo. I've just got it hooked into the block here just so it can prime and not spew oil all over the place. So it really is pretty simple. All you do is, for me, I just spin it and turn it, and you'll hear the drill get the pressure. And that's it. Fairly simple to do. Sometimes I'll spin the motor over just to make sure, it's getting all the rock arms. I will check that later, though. And these great eBay headers, you can see how they're a pain in the butt to get all the bolts, especially those for the valve covers. So not fun. So they're on, and I'm gonna just leave it the way it is, do the oil pump now, do the fuel pump in a second. You can see our homemade tool, all it is a distributor that we welded a nut to it. And then when you pull it out, just take the gear off of it. And then that just goes into the oil pump. So very easy, very simple to do. You could buy these, I guess, for 50 or 75 bucks, but they had an old distributor laying around and made one. Save some money, budget again. Okay, this is the distributor that I use. This is out of I think it's a 5.7 LT1, and it does great. You put a brass gear on it. You can get these from EFI Connection or on eBay. The shaft is smaller. I don't remember the size, but it's not like a 500. I think it's like a 427. so it's a little bit smaller. The only real disadvantage, of course, I have to glue this thing up like crazy. This Dart Iron Eagle block, the camshaft, the distributor is canted, I think it was 5 degrees instead of 4 degrees. So if you don't put a lot of silicone on it, it will leak like crazy. Anyway, looking at this is the cam sink. So the cam sink is right here, and so right there, this thing turns clockwise. So what happens, you can see the pickup there, this is going clockwise, and it goes by, and then it picks up. So this one right here, when it does this, that would be digital rising. When you put it on the setup, that would be digital falling. So digital falling, and it's 180 degrees apart. Digital rising, digital falling. So I set it up on digital falling. That's just what they recommend. I guess it's more consistent when it's on digital falling. So that's the way I set it up. Okay, under here, checking my torque converter clearance. And we've done this on Randy's, but I was gonna show you on mine. Mine's a little easier to see. Got my feeler gauges. Feeler gauges are here. I've got them set. They go in, and that's the clearance you're checking right there. You're just checking this clearance. Mine is 175 thousandths, so that is about perfect. When I mic those, 175 thousandths. And if you look up in there on this one, you can see where the pilot of the converter engages the crankshaft a little bit better. It's a little difficult to see because it's way up in there. It's a lot better. And so when I push the converter up, then it's going to, when I push the converter up, it's going to slide, that pilot's going to slide right into the crankshaft. And it goes up, and that's exactly perfect mounting. That's exactly where you want it. Hub centric, so the converter is slid into the back of the crank, so it is centered. So now when you spin this, it's going to stay, oh, that's a little bit better, you can see it. You can see it slide up in there. So that's where it goes. So 175 thousandths, so we're about to be done buttoning up under the bottom. Oh boy, we just got through priming the fuel system. Got the battery charging up. It did turn over. We tried to do it like we normally do, but it didn't work out. So we had to come up with an alternative way. What I did is I loosened up. This is the feed for the fuel rails. So I took it off completely. And then this is the vent. So I pressurized the vent, held the top down, held the vent rollover so it didn't leak. And fuel, within a couple tries, fuel was up to the fuel rail there. So we got it attached. So now as soon as this battery charges, we are going to try to fire it over. We are going to go ahead and shoot it with a little bit of carburetor cleaner, brake clean, something that is flammable. You know, since this is the first fire over, I'm gonna go get the computer, set it on it, just make sure we got good oil pressure, make sure everything looks good, you know, from that standpoint. Don't have the turbo on it, of course, or the hot side. I always try to usually start it up without that, just so I can make sure everything's good. You know, I have had startups go wrong and have to continue to work on it. It's easier to work on it if the turbo kit's not there. So there's my drain line. I've got it plugged up. It's just sitting there. Again, the feed is to the top of the block. That's going to go to the turbo in a minute. And then we'll be good to go. So we're going to try it here in the next probably 2 or 3 minutes and let y'all see if it fires the first time or not. This cam sync and that 60-2 wheel, it usually makes it crank up. If I installed the cam sync in the right location, which is about 50% of the time it seems, but usually it'll fire right off. Probably a little higher percentage than that, usually 70 or 80%, but occasionally I miss it. It's 180 degrees off. So we'll see. We're gonna fire it up in a minute, see what happens. All right, here we go. We're about to fire this puppy up, or give it a shot anyway. Couple squirts of flammable brake clean. All right, ready? All right. breathe. Oh my God. Woo! Oh shit. Methanol is rough. Oh my God. Woo! We need a respirator. I mean, like, for real.
Yeah, really.
I was hoping the fans was going to be enough to clear it out some, but that's a no-go apparently. Oh yeah, instead of blowing it back on us. Although that little hole probably ain't going to do very good. Wow, guys. That is fire in the hole. That little shot of brake clean, it just helps get the fuel until the fuel gets flowing good. I won't have to use that anymore tonight. It sounds pretty healthy. I couldn't hardly breathe. But it cranked up and it runs. So I am super excited. What do you think, Keith?
Sounds good.
Sounds pretty healthy. Yeah. That Lil John camshaft beating like crazy. You can really hear the camshaft lope without the turbo on it. When the turbo gets on it, of course, it just kills it. I mean, the turbine wheel beats up the sound, so you don't hear it as much. Man, I ain't out of breath. My lungs are burning. This is. You know, they say the only antidote to methanol is ethanol, so I guess we need to go drinking tonight, Keith.
There you go.
Like, legit, that's one of the antidotes. Seriously.